we're going to go ahead and get started so we can be mindful of your time. If you notice, we have one panelist who's coming from another engagement, so when she joins us, she'll just slip right in. But first, I will tell you who we are up here, and then we'll turn it over to the panel. I'm Carrie Silver with the University Career Center, and actually what I do is I counsel students who are considering graduate school. So if you are interested in talking further after today, you are welcome to contact me and we can continue this. I'll also be next door after this. We'll have another half hour of the small resource fair so you can chit chat with me. And then my cohort here, I'm going to introduce Corin, who's going to say a little bit about what you do.
Okay, so my name is Corin O'Hara. I'm the Assistant Director of the Graduate School Center for Grad Life. Center for Grad Life is located in Cone. You may have seen it or stopped by, but it is specifically for graduate students, professional development-wise, but it's any programs that we have except for the wine and cheese is open to undergraduate students. I mean, we do have older undergraduate students, so you can come to the wine and cheese. But I will say that I mentioned we had professional development programs, and those are centered around academic, career development, research and writing, scholarly inquiry, and teaching and instruction for those of you who might be going into academia as career teaching. We offer several grad courses, and they're for master's and doctoral level students and certificate students. So if you're considering maybe pursuing a certificate degree, we have some courses that would be appropriate for you to enroll in. So you'll find some of these panelists are Grad Life Fellows. We have up to 7 Graduate Life Fellows each year, and they do a variety of programming for grad students to build a graduate community, since we are predominantly undergrad student-oriented campus. But grad students need community too. So I want to thank you for coming, and I guess we'll go ahead and get started.
Great. Yeah. And I'll note that I'm here to help. So many people on campus are here to help you getting ready for graduate school once you're in graduate school. So if one of your concerns is who's here to help, knock that off the concern list, because hopefully we'll help you figure that out. And just to throw it, Corin's actually been through a graduate program here on UNC Charlotte. She's a graduate, so she has experience there. And what was your master's?
Education.
Education, excellent. So I have a master's in communications and a PhD in educational leadership. So you're welcome to ask us questions as well. So we both survived. It can be done. These folks are on their way to surviving, so they're still in the midst a little bit. But what I'm going to do is turn it over. You have in your program their beautiful faces and a little bit about them. And if you'll notice, some of them even have office hours where they commit 2 hours a week to just have you stop by and talk with them. So take note of that. But right now I'm going to turn it over. If you wouldn't mind telling us who you are, what you're studying, and perhaps what studied before you got here. Mm-hmm. And then if you have one piece of advice for students thinking about the application process, what might it be? Start.
Sure. Good afternoon. My name is Ben Gordon. I'm a current third-year PhD student in the Department of Biology. Most of the research work I do is in kinesiology, however, so we study human physiology, so we're in the laboratory of systems phys. My background is I have a bachelor's of science in exercise science and physiology, and a master's degree in clinical exercise physiology, one from Western Michigan University and the other from East Stroudsburg University of Pennsylvania. Right now I study hypertension, so high blood pressure, many of which you may be afflicted by out in your graduate studies at some point or another. But we study that here at the university, and it's been a lot of fun for me. And one piece of advice I would say is start early, whether it's investigating a website, knowing what the requirements are, or getting your documents in order as early as possible so you're not waiting until the last minute.
All right. Hi, my name's Cara Belvins. I am a 4th-year student in the health psychology PhD program here. I'm in the clinical track. I did my undergrad at George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia. I got my bachelor's degree in psychology, and then I took about 5 years off before coming back to grad school. So I will be defending my master's thesis next week, so hopefully I will be getting my master's degree from here very soon, and then my PhD in about 3 years. So I study health psychology, and I specifically study traumatic recovery. I work with the military, and I'm interested in the processes by which people make meaning from trauma, grow, and become more resilient. So one piece of advice I would give about the graduate application process is to try to remain true to yourself and to your experiences. So as you go through the application process, particularly when it comes to writing the essays, you'll probably hear a lot of messages from a lot of different people telling you how to write your own story, but you are the best author of your own story. So remain true to yourself, and also get people to read your essays who know you really well, so that they can tell you if you're stating yourself appropriately.
Hey, I'm Shayan Nazari. I'm a first year PhD in biological sciences department. My background is in chemistry and biochemistry from actually this school. So I started as a master's student, and then we have this thing where we can transition into master's PhD program. So I will get my master's I think in a few months, kind of like Cara is, and then PhD in 3 years hopefully. So that's about me. What was that one piece of advice? I think one piece of advice I would give if you're applying is don't think it's this huge thing that, it's not for you, and, there's so many other smarter people or whatever out there. I think just do it, I think the best thing is just doing it, and then even if you don't get in the first time, that's fine. Just then what your if you need a higher score in GRE, or if you just need to take another, because I came from chemistry, so I didn't have enough biology classes. I still got into the bio program because chemistry and bio, they go together. But if, let's say, you were history undergrad and you want to go to engineering, they might need 2 more engineering classes for you to take in post-bac. So don't think it's this impossible thing, just do it. I mean, you're all smart because you're here, you're listening to us, so you'll be fine. I think that's.
So I definitely agree with that. My name is Maggie, and I am a second-year student in the counseling master's program. I'm in the school counseling track of the counseling program. So just starting my internship part of the program this semester, which has been really exciting. I did my bachelor's at UNC Chapel Hill. I got my bachelor's of arts in psychology in 2014. And I took a year off, and then I started applying to graduate schools, and I began in fall of last year. So I still feel a little bit new to it, I feel like every day is a little bit different, and it's always a process, but I really enjoy it so far, and if you're considering it at all, I would absolutely recommend it. And my biggest piece of advice for the application process would be probably to have a strong personal statement, kind of going along with what Cara said. I think it's probably the most personal aspect of the application, where you can really, be true to yourself, say why you're interested in the program and what you hope to do with the degree from the program, and it really helps the admissions review committee to get to know you on a personal level. So I think that would probably be the most important piece that I would think.
So hello y'all, my name is Patrice, and I'm a second year Master of Social Work student, and I got my Bachelor's of Arts from UNC Chapel Hill as well. In psychology, and I graduated last year in 2015, and so I just came straight through. And I think that those both have it has pros and cons for both. And if you decide to go straight through, you will see that for yourself. Each experience is individual for yourself, so I can tell you my pros and my cons, but if you decide to take that route, then it'll be completely different for you, depending on your goals. And so with social work, there isn't a real track, like a macro or micro. You all are in there just kind of learning how to advocate, empower, and support vulnerable populations. And so I would tell you that my interest would be, after I graduate, to be in the behavioral healthcare field with youth and adolescents. And so my biggest piece of advice would be during the admissions process is the time. So you have about 7 months to a year, or however much you want to take to work on it. But you want to make sure you have time to take the GRE, write your personal statement, get your 3 letters of recommendation. So making sure that you give the people who are writing your recommendations enough time to write it and get it back to you. And then getting your transcript from your school. So all of that go into play when it comes to this process, as well as even just filling out the application itself. And so you want to make sure you have enough time and set deadlines for yourself. So that's my biggest piece, set deadlines, because the time can seem super small if you don't do so, and you'll find yourself in a crunch.
Great, thank you. What I'm going to do is ask a few general questions, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. So start thinking if you have questions for the group. So we've already gotten some good information about the application process. Some of you have taken a year off, some of you have gone straight through. My first question to the group is, when did you go, or how did you go from the maybe to the yes, I'm going to go to grad school? So that might be what helped you make that decision, who helped you make that decision, why you made that decision. And I'll throw it out to the group so anyone who feels inclined to answer can do so. Want to jump in?
I can speak on that. Yeah. So when I was an undergraduate, I only recently found out in my third year that to really do anything with the degree I was in was to actually pursue an upper level graduate program. And that was kind of a shock to me. So that was really tough for me to handle, knowing that I had not even considered graduate school to begin with. So the fact that you're all here considering graduate school now, you're already a step ahead. So I decided to actually pursue graduate school in probably the first semester, the fall of my senior year of undergraduate. And it was just because of one interaction I had with one faculty member who told me that one university in one part of Pennsylvania had a very specialized program that he thought I might be interested in from one class that I took. So with that story, with that tiny tidbit of information, what I would tell you is that it's all it takes is one communication, one conversation, one class can be the difference between whether you decide to go on to an advanced program or not. And it's important that you reflect on those experiences and that you actually consider those for what they're worth. Because of that, I'm here now. So because of that program, I went to a conference, and because of that, I was able to start my PhD, and I was given that opportunity. So I would recommend that you take advantage of every chance you get to communicate the possibility of what a graduate program might mean.
Yeah, I can, just going off what Ben says, I'm in sort of the same field, like biological sciences, sciences in that sense, you kind of need a graduate degree with what we sort of want to do. If you want to work in a tech company or something, you could do it with a bachelor's. It would be easier with like engineering or something like that. I don't know about other fields. I can speak about my own field. It's easier when you have a master's or a PhD. And for me, deciding like that tipping point, I think I had one of like the longest times that I was still debating, maybe like a year long, where I did an internship after my bachelor's, and the whole time I was like, should I do this, should I not? Every single day, I think. But I really went out there and talked to people who had a higher degree and who didn't, and I just liked their life a little bit better. And also, I think really you have to be true to yourself. Like, what do you want to do with your life? And maybe you don't know that right now, and that's okay. I mean, I don't know it. But I think I really had to sit down, and my advisor, I have an amazing advisor who just said, what do you think right now you like? And I was like, oh, I love breast cancer research. I don't know if I even said that. I do breast cancer research. So she was like, if you like that right now, well, what steps do you need to take to get to where you want to get to tomorrow? So you need a master's and you need a PhD. So really thinking about what do you want out of life, and right now, what do you want? Then just seeing what degree matched that, I think. Anyway.
I agree. When I was still doing my bachelor's and majoring in psychology, I think psychology is one of those hard majors where you don't really know exactly what you want to go into when you graduate. And I was lucky enough to hear about counseling through an information session that I went to for counseling majors. And we learned through the info session that you need to get your master's in order to become any kind of counselor, whether it's clinical mental health, school counseling, or addictions. We also have an addictions track at UNC Charlotte. So I think the biggest factor for me was just learning that that was one of the credentials that I would need in order to become or to pursue the career that I wanted to pursue. So I think that's a big factor as well, is just kind of learning more about what careers you're interested in and seeing what kinds of degrees you would need in order to go into that field.
For me, I going into human services, I knew that a master's degree would open up more doors for me. And so that was one of the reasons why, but also I had a lot of people behind me, so I was a McNair Scholar at UNC Chapel Hill as well, and one of the requirements is that you had to go to graduate school, and so that's one of the reasons why I became a McNair Scholar, or applied to become one, because they would provide me with the resources that I needed. And also, just like professors and mentors, and then my family. I'm really doing this for myself, but for my family as well, to provide and give back through the successes that I may come across from the career that I plan to take. So.
Yeah, I think so. Just echoing kind of what everyone else said, I did take a lot of time off before going back to school. My parents didn't go to college, and so graduate school wasn't something that was stressed for me. They sort of, they were just so proud of me that I was in undergrad and that I was going to be getting my bachelor's degree. And so there was a lot of trial and error after I graduated, trying out different jobs, kind of reaching the peak of what I could achieve, and then realizing that I wanted more, and that I also had certain skills that were really that I excelled in, and seeing what I valued in life and what I wanted to be able, like Trice said, to give back to the community. And I had some really awesome mentors who showed me that research could be like fun as well as challenging and like intellectually stimulating, and that I could sort of forge my own path if I was willing to put the work into it. And so it was a journey, but the journey did lead me back to grad school. And I tried to model myself off of people that I really admired. But also, like I said earlier, staying true to myself, staying true to what I valued, staying true to what got me up in the morning, what I'm passionate about. And that led me to the program, to here at UNC Charlotte, because the psychology program that I'm in is everything that I would have wanted. And it's allowing me to really thrive. So.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I have a quick question next. A lot of times I hear, well, how many graduate programs should I apply to? So I'm curious, how many schools did you each apply to for your master's or your doc program? Okay, you want to just go down, Trice, you want to start?
I started. I applied to 10. Yeah. But that was also with the help of McNair as well. I told you all I was a McNair scholar, and so they provided the resources for the application prices and all of that. But 10 gave me a good number of, like, because I had my reach schools, my target schools, and then like the stretch. So, it's just to open up the doors, and you never know what you might get. You might get a yes or a no. I got some no's, but I also got some yeses, and they were 2 great places. So, yeah.
Okay.
I applied to 6 counseling programs, and I think most of them were in North Carolina. Some of them were in South Carolina as well. And that was actually my second go-around of applying to grad school. So I applied once when I was a senior in undergrad, and I only applied to 2 schools when I did that. And unfortunately, I didn't get into those programs. So it kind of gave me the motivation to continue with that pursuit to go to graduate school, but it also let me know maybe I should kind of spread my sights out a little bit and kind of give myself more of an opportunity to get into some of those programs. So that was, I think, one of the biggest drives for me for applying to more programs the second time around.
I'm a little weird. I applied to 1, but my thing was because there was a certain professor I wanted to really work with, which I'm working with right now. So she provided something that the other schools didn't have. She's like leading in her research. But I did think about if I should apply for other schools. But again, these programs are more competitive. There's more people applying to social work than there are in biology. So you have to consider that as well. Yeah.
I applied to a lot of programs. I applied 2 years in a row. The first year I applied to 15 programs, PhD programs for psychology, clinical psychology. I think that's the recommended amount. And I did not do a good job of applying the first year. I was geographically limiting myself and just trying to make myself fit into programs that weren't a good fit for me. They didn't line up with my experiences. They didn't line up with what I had researched, with my expertise. So I did not get in anywhere. I didn't even get an interview anywhere. So the second year, I tried to really target myself a lot more. I applied to 15 PhD programs, and I also applied to 5 master's programs. And I specifically applied all over the country to work with professors whose skills and interests lined up with my past experiences and what I had been doing. So I could really tell a story for why I would be a good fit to work with them. And I was much more successful the second time, but yeah.
I applied to 4 master's programs. I think for the program I was specifically looking at, Clinical Ex-Phys, I think there's only 5 or 6 in the country. So I had to pick a couple that I thought were going to be the most attainable. And so I settled on 4 of them, applied to those, chose a program based on actually, and this is another piece of advice, is go, like visit.
Yeah.
Even if if you don't get if it's geographically applicable, if you can go and you have the opportunity to go, that's the only way you're going to get an idea of whether a program could potentially be a good fit for you. Because on paper things can look great, but if you don't mesh well with faculty and potential students that you'll be working with or associating with, then your experience may not be as much of a benefit as you hope for. So I would say definitely go and really, really communicate with graduate faculty and things like that and get a heads up on that. My PhD was actually just UNC Charlotte, and the reason being is because I went to a conference I met with a student who did her master's and undergraduate here who said, I know a faculty member at this one school, and she was from Texas A&M, and she said, he might be interesting for you to work with based on the work that he's done. I reached out, I flew out in November, applied in November, and started in January. Yeah. So it's all about timing. It's about really, if you want it, pursue it right away.
And I can just add something, if you don't mind, just by what Ben and Cara said. I think it's so important for you to meet with the people. I don't know how it is in other programs, you have a direct advisor, but in our program, you need one advisor that you work with. So I think it's so important to go and see someone, and that'll actually help you, I think, for getting in, because then you have someone who can vouch for you and write you maybe a light recommendation if you expose yourself with them. It's kind of what happened with me. I worked with her for a while, and then she wrote me a recommendation to come in, because someone might look amazing on paper, oh yeah, this person has so many publications and is amazing, and then you work with them and you're like, oh, we don't mesh at all. I think that's really important.
And also, just to add to that, if you don't if you're not able to go down physically to a place, you can also call and email too,
or Skype,
or Skype in and ask if you can speak to someone, the director maybe, or someone who's in the admissions office. And sometimes they have students. I know for the social work department, we have people who go and speak to prospective students. And so you can either email them, text them, call them, whatever they're comfortable with, as well in the case that you can't make it there physically, just to get an insight and an idea of how the program works.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to not just look at the faculty who you're thinking of working with, but also to talk to the students that are in the program, because they can give you a good idea of what the general climate is, and then you can learn if this is going to be a place that will be conducive to you thriving, or if it's going to be just a struggle. And you might just need the struggle, and that's fine. But if you're going to be spending 6 years somewhere, if you can set it up so that it's a place where you're happy at, and you learn a lot by talking to the students and just picking up on the way that they answer your questions, and just seeing what they do when they're not working. If you can make it at least a little less stressful for yourself by being in a good supportive environment, it makes a big difference. Yeah.
That's great feedback. One of the biggest lessons I'm hearing is that everybody has their own answer. So
yeah.
Apply to one school.
Okay.
But one thing that I also hear is it's not applying to the school, it's applying to the program. So listening to what the students are doing, what the faculty are doing, what the research is happening. So even more than undergrad, this is about the program. So I have one more question before I turn it over to you guys, and that has to do with grad school, what you expected. So what was kind of the same from undergrad, and what was a surprise that you might not have been expecting?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to turn it over to you, so be thinking about what questions you want to know. But does anyone want to start first?
I can start. I thought this is not at all what I thought it would be, actually. So I thought I would just go to class and come out, and it would be kind of like undergrad, trying my best to get all A's, and doing my research in my little lab, and not talking to anyone, or only talking to the people in my own study. But it's been so different. I think what I love about this program, and what I love about Center for Graduate Life, you guys know, their focus is on integrate, kind of like interdisciplinary networking, and getting students to talk to each other, and getting someone from the chemistry department to come talk to someone from the arts department, and everyone just kind of talking to each other and making a connection. And they do all these amazing workshops. So I didn't know it was this much of a community in this school, and the graduate school and the CGL, and the fact that they emphasize so much on getting our, teamwork in before we go to the job, because that's what the job market, they really want someone who works in a team, who can work with different types of people. If I can only work with biologists and I only understand what they're saying, how am I going to make it into the real world where there's people from different fields? So important. I think they do. I didn't know they, advocate so much for us with just from the top, Dr. Reynolds, to everyone in the CGL, to really advocate for grad students, tuition, funding, how much they fight for us. I didn't know that. It's really amazing here. And all these workshops that they put for us, I can't emphasize that enough.